YouTube, it's Brian Phillips. Look at this. All new 70mm EDF jet from H-King. Look at this. V2 has landing gears. And they're retracts. Sweet, amazing. We set ours up with AS3X Plus. Flight coming. Throttle cuts off, takeoff flaps deployed. That's right, we set up flaperons. AS3X Plus is gonna keep this thing hopefully rock solid. Oh yeah, she's in the air already, gear up. That was about 70% throttle burst right when we rolled. Oh man, she's doing good. She doesn't like to be upside down though, I can tell you that. Out of the takeoff flaps. Good ups, turning my gains down just a little bit. Man, that thing looks good in the air. Feeling a little bit of oscillation and wiggle there. Got that kind of relaxed down. Twin tails, both are functioning. This thing as a V1 lived its first life without gear. So it was a hand launcher. This thing is definitely a belly lander. That's so cool. Inside pass again if you can handle it. This one's gonna be pretty speedy. Huge roll rate, guys. Look at this. I want to show you this. That was about 10% on the sticks. Now 100%. Going uphill, still got crazy ups. Not unlimited, but close. Gotta say, the EDF fan sounds really good. But this thing at 50% cruise, takeoff flaps now, landing flaps. Look at it slow down, guys. Look at it slow down. Got to get into the throttle, 70%, just keep her flying. Now out of the flaps, hard on the throttle, and there she is. Look at that. Keeping it nice and low so you got a good differentiation. Almost hit those.
Time remaining, 1 minute.
1 minute. 1 minute left on 3. Almost hit those bushes, guys. Man, that green pops in front of the trees right now. I'm loving it. It's one of the first planes recently that we can see. Everything else has been disappearing. Full landing flaps, check this out. Gear coming down. Oh yes, out of the gear, out of the flaps. And janking it. Full speed flight again. Or full throttle flight, I should say. With the wind now, look at that thing cruising. Interesting thing about this plane is because we're flying it on 6S 5000 70C pack from China Hobby Lines, we are getting really good reserves on the thrust because I just don't think it pushes it that hard.
4, 3.
Here's our shutdown timer, or not shutdown timer, it's our timer that's for 3 minutes. But guys, I'm gonna tell you this, you should be able to get a little bit longer. It is cold, so we're kind of erring on the side of caution. Full landing flaps coming out. Let's see how fast we can slow it down. Guys, that was close. Gear. Woo! I could have taken that landing. Holy cow, man. Those flaperons slow us way down. But just remember, they're flaperons. You are gonna lose roll rate. Oh, by the way, watch this. Safe. Safe mode. Okay, so check this out. I'm gonna hold the controller. Safe mode. Guys, look at this. Look at this. Just a little bit of hesitation with the wind. And yes, you can fly it on safe mode. It's a little bit jankety. I opened up my flight envelope to 70 in all directions. Looks like you could probably open it up more. It is going to resist and fight you a little bit harder. Might even need to turn your gain down just a hair if you're running safe, because it's just going to necessarily make your plane a little bit less agile. So I'm gonna come out of safe here. Okay, so there's your limited up angle. Okay, into AS3X, and she's back to crazy mode. Oh yeah! Man, it's crazy how you can fly this thing sideways at knife edge. Is so good because of those twin rudders. And you could go from like straight vertical one direction to straight vertical the next. Okay, now landing flaps, gear. Okay, out of the flaps. Man, I love those green stripes, really make it pop. Top to bottom color change is pretty good. As you can see here, But again, no LEDs, guys. I'm not sure what the deal is, if the manufacturers are having trouble getting good LEDs lately. We do have pack telemetry, so we're gonna try for a landing here. Gear coming out. Let's see how we can do it. Pilot fatigue! Oh man, but I bounced it. Oh, it did work that time. You may have noticed it slowed down pretty drastically as it was making this midstream bounce. I think I may have sacrificially broken one of the gear. All right, look at that thing blowing all over the place. That is so cool. I feel like some of the manufacturers we work with, they don't like snow. Well, neither do we.
Neither do we.
All right, so throttle cuts on, takeoff flaps are off. Everything is back to neutral positioning. Let's see how the gear did. Nose gear, yeah, nose gear busted out again. Dang it. Well, that being said, I'm gonna just bust it back in there because that's really all you can do in a situation like this. As far as I'm concerned, that was probably not a terrible landing. We bent the main and we smashed the nose gear. Brian Phillips special. So that being said, okay, what do we like about this plane? We like that it's got a big, powerful EDF. What do we not like about it? The gear may be a little bit not sturdy enough for my type of crashing. That being said, really fun in the air, really cool. Setting up flaperons is probably not necessary. It took a lot of effort. The cable splits out right here, and unless you intend to just pull a new cable through, which I would highly recommend you do before you build it, guys, you'll thank me later. Trust me, our unboxed build radio setup shows all the details. But also the steerable nose gear, I think at 2x, it's probably a little bit too much on the gain, okay? So we set it up to 2x and 100% gain for ASRX, and I think it was probably a little bit overcorrecty, so we'll drop that down to 1x. I gotta say, the thing will put in a good landing. I just failed. It sucks, got just a hair crosswind here, but our first flight was much worse. So not 100% sure how things are gonna lay out in this video, but the Flycat V2 is really cool. I think you're gonna enjoy it. My suggestion to you, and this is my no BS assessment from Brian Phillips RC here, where we tell the full truth, nothing but the truth, so help us God, is don't set up flaperons. You probably don't need them, but try to get thrust reverse, okay? So we ran an 82 or an 8360 T, and that gave us pack telemetry. So like we've got all sorts of crazy stuff here. And right here is the one, I even set up a Vario on this. Whoops. I wanna go back here. Hold on, just let me scroll to the right screen. I wanted to show you guys, we do have a voltage screen, 22.9 volts there. Sorry, I always go past it. And so that's helpful, but when it's this cold, like my fingers feel like they're about to fall off, and we're talking like 0 degrees Fahrenheit or below, even this little bit of wind just makes it painful, okay? So that being said, sometimes as a pilot, you might make decisions that you wouldn't make if you were comfortable. And, you know, same is true when it's super duper hot, I suppose, except your fingers don't feel like they're gonna fall off. You're just wiping sweat from your brow when the mosquitoes are attacking. So all I got to say is really cool plane. Hobby King stuff is getting better and better. They're kind of coming back into the echelon of the stuff that we really enjoy doing. And that being said, I don't want to take anything away from Hobby King, because back in the day when we first started this, I was doing Hobby King stuff all the time and really enjoying it. But that being said, you got to be prepared for the occasional broken, you know, battery train thing like that if you crash, okay? I'm not trying to blame Hobby King for my crashes, but I am trying to tell you, there are planes that will tolerate that type of rough landing better. And I think we all kind of understand that. That being said, you could close this landing gear and you could belly land this all afternoon and keep flying at the flight field, or you could go in and just glue the heck out of it and just get it back in the air. That's gonna be fine, because that's one of the things that we have learned to do. If you wanna learn more about that, you're on the right channel, because we generally show how we fix stuff. And I'm pretty sure we're gonna show you how we fix this one too. So stay tuned, you can see our terrible first flight. It was much windier than that by a factor of about 10. Still had a blast filming it, even though it still also hurt, okay? And when I say hurt, I mean it hurts to film right now, guys. Really does. So, with that, Flycat V2, buy it from the links in the video description below. If you want to see our crash footage, it will follow second. But really cool plane. I think you guys will enjoy it quite a bit. Remember, They're suggesting 3,000 to 5,000 6S. We did a 70C pack, kept up totally fine, didn't have any issues, but not quite unlimited vertical. It's not a super heavy model. Twin tail boom, mid-engine planes like this sometimes are a little bit different. And I enjoy it. It's fun, it's different, and I think you will too. So check it out, links in the video description below. If you wanna help support channel, you can buy from those links, or you can support us in 4 other main ways. We have Patreon for monthly support, YouTube members. Thanks for being members. Thanks for being monthly supporters, guys. YouTube super thanks for one-time donations, and PayPal if you don't want to do any of those, you know, put your name in and stuff like that. We get it. Really, at the end of the day, the best thing you can do is just buy amazing planes, batteries, transmitters, you know, all this stuff. We did set this up with Spectrum. Obviously, this is a Hobby King product, so they have different offerings that you can get there. But I'm going to tell you this. The stabilizer makes this plane fly crispy, okay? And that's in non-perfect environment, okay? We got some pretty nasty crosswinds today. In our first flight, you'll see it was really insane. But the thing is, it's very difficult to make adjustments when your Maiden comes in this type of weather, okay? I'll be totally honest with you and totally frank with you. If it was 65 degrees out, comfortable and beautiful sunset evening, we could get this thing knocked out super easy, okay? Easy to keep it on our runway, easy to put it down on this runway. I just happened to hit a berm, and that berm is actually not super bad, but I did run over it with the tractor tire, which means it's rock hard. Yeah. So when you're ready for more, don't forget to click the bell. Click the bell when you're subscribing, because then you're gonna see all the new content from Brian Phillips RC. We're glad to have you here with us. Thanks for helping support our channel. Terrible flight coming next. Stay tuned. Thanks for watching. YouTube, it's Brian Phillips. Look at this Flycat V2. Look at this thing from Hobby King. Now it's got retracts. The first version didn't have them. Ours comes with something special, and that's called AS3X Plus. So watch that stabilizer shut off on the nose gear. This thing should be pretty awesome, 70 millimeters of action, but we're gonna be flying it today in some crazy wind, as you can see, and it's also not comfortable. So let's hope for the best. And without further ado, throttle cuts off. Oh yeah, takeoff flaps deployed. We set ours up with flaperons, retracts, stabilizer. Oh, look at that thing. Oh, it's dead set on being awesome. 70 millimeters. Turning down the stabilizer just a bit, and look at that thing. It is crazy windy, and look at it, it's locked in. 50% throttle, full throttle. That mid-engine has got to allow it to be weird, I bet, in this wind, but check this out. Just a tiny overcorrection there on our roll axis. You see it, it's just overcorrecting just a tiny, teensy, tiny little bit, but that's because it is insanely fast. I'm gonna turn down my stabilizer just a little bit in total. Remember, I'm turning down all 3 axes, and look at this thing, guys. Rock solid performance, crispy. And that's not something we usually say about H-King products. Out of the throttle. Oh yeah, good roll rate too. Awesome. Woo! Did you miss that one?
No, I thought you were gonna miss the air.
That is awesome. I think I might need just a touch more expo with that much rate. So guys, really easy to control, fun to fly. It's keeping my attention even though it hurts to exist right now. Kind of got probably just a 1 or 2 clicks of up trim. But I'll tell you what, we're probably just a hair nose heavy on this being a 5000 70C. We're using a China Hobby Lines just because it has an XT90 on it. We didn't want to use an adapter, but we also have a smart pack we were getting ready to use. Should fit a little bit better, and that would get our CG spot on. So if you want to do a little bit more of the traditional crazy maneuvering, like that, oh man, you would get this thing to be a little bit more tail heavy. And by the way, I gotta say, this thing is agile. Takeoff flaps now. Full landing flaps, whoa. You know what? I don't even think I need my down elevator correction that's tied in right now. Let's go over the bowl, please. You first, please. I got my first chime from the lady, but I don't know what she meant because she stopped talking. Okay, take off flaps now. That's just takeoff. Now landing. Look at that down elevator correction. I got to fight it a little bit. Does slow down nicely. Now, do you need to set up flaperons on this plane? I don't think it's absolutely necessary. And I think my correction, I'm really having to kind of, woo! There's takeoff flaps. The takeoff flaps seem to kind of be nice. I'm gonna try to land this. Camera crew is gonna just be Johnny on spot where we are.
Okay.
Okay, here's gear coming down. Let's just see how it feels. Oh, we got tons of time though. We're 11 seconds past our 3, but the thing is, I'm just remembering I have safe. Oh, automatically leveling it with safe. Now, while I'm in safe, I'm gonna go over. Oh yeah, we're pretty good. We have like 22.3 still. And she's not even chiming out because we set up status reports for warnings. Okay, so in safe, we need, it's kind of banking to the right and down just a hair. So remind me when we get inside and we will change that.
Okay.
And then also, I need to change my down elevator correction. Okay, going up over the trees. Okay, now take off flaps. We're just gonna do take off flaps. Whoa. Whoa, holy cow. That was quite the save. Okay, camera crew, gear going back up. Okay. You're gonna need to go way out because I need a better angle for myself here. Didn't like that angle, did it?
Nope.
Okay, so here we go. So you're saying that a 75-degree crosswind at greater than the velocity of the speed is not a good way to maiden a plane? Weird.
Was that thrust reverse with the snow?
That was pilot fatigue. Oh my goodness, I turned it on, turned it back off. Throttle cuts on, gear are supposedly down. I don't think that they liked it. Might have lost one, I wonder. Anyway, guys, a ball of fun. Maybe if it was 20 degrees warmer, I wouldn't be in pain right now. And neither would it. Oh. How did the gear do?
Well, that one didn't do so good. It just like straight ripped out though. You just glued it right back in.
Look at this one.
Ooh, that was a little squishy.
Oh, knock that snow off. Yep, there it is. Okay, we're going inside. We'll see you on the other flip. All right, guys, say hello to my little friend. You've met him before. China glue. Now, we also, when we built this plane, we used China glue to put everything together. And if you haven't watched the Unbox Build radio setup, obviously you'll have a chance to see it because that was published about the time you guys are seeing this beautiful maiden flight landing. Obviously, let's take a close look at the damage. We've had a chance to clean up our kitchen and filming space, and this has had a chance to dry off just a little bit, and we can feel our hands and appenditures again. So as you can see, we had a nasty sort of thing happen here. Now, I can't speak exactly to what happened here, but it would appear that it just bent back. I don't think it's actually broken. That part's broken. This is pulled up, okay? So that needs to be re-glued, very obviously. Okay, so I'm gonna pull that back up just so I don't forget. And then this one obviously has to be re-glued, okay? So anytime you have that little bit of a glue contact point, there's a high probability of failure. But that being said, you know, that landing was not exactly pristine, okay? It was not good. So what I'm gonna do is, I think I can err on the safe side and use a foam safe, odorless sort of CA, or I can use this if I was really throwing caution to the wind, because this stuff will definitely glue. It's actually probably a little bit, it's cheaper, I know that, but it could possibly react with this foam. Now, I think for the sake of, you know, simplicity, I'm gonna go with this style. If you guys didn't already know this, I take these caps off and I usually cut one cap, and then I can use the spout from the one that I use, okay? And what that does is that keeps one spout always ready to go so that I can decide how I want to use them instead of waiting for them to be completely clogged when I'm in the moment of duress, okay? Just don't confuse yourself on the cap colors. these bottles, if you get the same sizes, can be easily changed, okay? So that's what I'm trying to show right now. And it's just fighting me a little bit because there's a little bit of residual glue up on the mouth of the bottle, okay? Okay, so now that that's back on, this one can sit aside and this one can be used. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna make sure that we're free and we're gonna start gluing all these components back together. This one's gonna be the most difficult to fix. Obviously, when you crash a plane, you gotta fix it, and that's part of the reason why Brian Phillips RC has found a little bit of success, because we share people exactly how to do these things, at least in our experience. Okay, so now I'm gonna have to probably mar some finish a little bit to do this, but I think on this one, I'm just gonna kind of pump the glue in a little bit and a little bit, and then just a little bit. I'm gonna go way heavier than what they did, okay? I'm gonna pump it into that middle cavity there. Now this is a medium CA, so it's medium thick. And what that means is that it is medium compared to the thin, and then it's not thick compared to the thick, all right? Those are the three distinguishing steps. Now I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna wiggle that gear and try to get that all to kind of soak down in there. So it's gonna be a nightmare to get that back out, okay? Then I'm gonna take my kicker, I'm gonna soak this tip in there, and I'm just gonna work it down the length. And guess what? I'm gonna use the dry tip. I'm gonna pull this just to get it over here, and this is gonna be a nightmare if I ever have to take that apart, because that glue will hold really good, okay? Now you'll notice that this thing is going to get rock hard. It might even get hot and catch on fire. So I'm gonna throw it in my garbage can so it's more exciting, okay? A couple of things to keep in mind about that much glue. Once they set up, it's gonna be difficult to get back out. So just understand that. But generally you're gonna undo these screws and pull the gear out if you need to, okay? So I'm not super worried about that because I don't intend to get it out, so to speak, right?
Right.
All right, now, on this one, give them a shot from this angle so they can kind of see what we're looking at gluing. You see how it's just kind of up in there? It kind of broke a little bit.
Yeah, because you're basically going to glue that whole board back in, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's what I did on this other one side.
Yeah.
The other side too. The difference is that the other side wasn't as easily accessible for work.
Right. Okay.
So I'm gonna go ahead and have a paper towel ready. I'm gonna have a fresh Q-tip ready, and then I'm gonna come up in here. And yep, that's not good. Don't get wet, don't get water on your tip, okay? Don't ever do that. That'll cause all sorts of weird grief. So I'm gonna take this. I thought that was just nothing, but it's actually water. You see, it's ice.
Oh, there's snow in there.
Yep, I didn't realize I had snow still in there. Okay, so get that snow out. Obviously you don't want that because that's gonna displace, like your glue won't be able to get to the point that matters. So we're gonna probably have to clean that one out and then come back to that in a minute, which I'm glad I noticed it, okay? This side didn't seem to have it, but as you can see, that thing is still kind of setting up. We put a lot of glue in there. I may have to flip this upside down and pump glue into that spot and let it set up on the inside of the seam, okay? Now also, the other thing is we need to set up our safe auto leveling was leaning to the right and pointed downhill. So we need to bring it uphill a little bit more and we need to pull it back level. It was leaning to the right. So we'll fix that here in a minute too, but we'll let that kind of come to terms with where it needs to sit. This one's gonna be a little bit more tricky. By the way, this is still fired up. It's still got the battery and everything. So this board broke. So I'm trying to think of the best way to do this, but a lot of times the best thing you can do is just kind of unbreak it, right? So this obviously got blown back when we ran in super hard, but you can tell it's on a board that's got a break in it, okay? So this board just slides back down in my case. And again, this is not like a one size fits all solution. I mean, you might be able to do it. I might not be able to do it. You know, it might be a little different in your application. But you see, I'm trying to do it without such a way so that I don't have to break everything, okay? Okay, so that's going back toward where it's gonna be right. Okay, and then this is just lifted up, but there is a little bit of moisture still down here. You see this?
Yeah.
Can you see it on camera?
It looked a little shiny.
Okay, so this, I just push back in, and then this, camera crew, would you please, oh shoot, I don't have another Q-tip, do I? Okay.
Oh, I can get a couple.
Yeah, grab a couple, and I'm just gonna, I wanna try to pull some of this foam up. Ah, shoot, we got a little bit of snow up in here too, so get as many as you can get. So right here, I've got snow parked in this little spot. It got squished in there. Nope. So this one here, it's like I said, we just did a little bit of cleanup, got our coats off and resituated so we can film again. And oh, dang it. Well, I guess that's fine. It's going to be into the canopy then. So there's a little bit of a relief there, and it just happened to catch snow on this side. This side seemed to be pretty good. There's just a little residual splatters of water here. And all I'm really worried about is just getting the splashes of water. This is super thin. I think it's probably going to be, you know, gosh, do I even care? I don't know. Maybe a little bit. I'll probably just put it back together like this. One drip of glue. I'll just grab the CA and slide it over, or the kicker. So we'll just let that glue sit right there for a minute. Now there's more than one way to skin a cat, folks, but you'll notice when I do repairs on foam, especially super small chunks like this, I will tend to go with a foam safe CA if that's what I think the foam calls for. Most of this EPO, and this is probably one of the more denser EPOs, on a lot of the planes that we play with anymore are going to be capable of receiving regular CA. But I still tend to be a little bit cautious when I'm not sure. I don't want to give you guys bad advice. And so China glue is usually a safe bet. Like if you're in any doubt, you can use China glue. But China glue is not good for this type of repair because like I'm just trying to encapsulate these little chunks here, okay? Come in with the fresh side so it doesn't mar everything. I'm gonna put a little bit of kicker on here, just hardly any. Now just be a little bit careful. Those fibers will sometimes get caught. So I'm gonna dip that in there. This is gonna go super fast. When the chemical reaction's faster, it can get really hot. Hot is a second way that this melts. Okay, sometimes it melts from a chemical response and other times it melts because it heats up. All right, so we're good there. It's kind of crispy now, but I gotta just get a little bit of glue to hold that back into position. You see that, how I rolled that up? Mm-hmm. That's where you would normally go with like a thin CA instead of like a medium CA, but I don't wanna get the medium CA or I don't wanna get the thin CA. So I don't wanna lose my gear too far because it's just sort of sitting there resting. So I'm gonna lift this up on its side and I'm gonna put, nope, okay. Just let it be, okay. Just let it be. Right here is where I'm trying to go. Right in this cavity here, I wanna get that pushed in there, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and go right here, behind you're blocking my light, Okay, and then I'm gonna come in here, right behind that action, and just get that kicker. Let that hopefully flow down in where it needs to be. And then if that drips, it drips. It should be inside of here. It shouldn't drip very far. Okay, so now my next move is I have to try to, remember I was trying to get this, I actually ended up getting down deeper. There was another spot I wanted to get deeper. So the idea is you can come in here and sometimes you can just sort of pick and choose where you want to get the CA and glue to just sort of fix all those components back to what they had been 5 minutes before. And other times, what you're gonna do is you're gonna come in and have to take things apart to fix them. We don't do as much of that anymore because, like, to be honest, when they're crashed that bad, I usually just get rid of them. But now come back around, please. This part here, we gotta get fixed too, okay? So right here, this was just compression style, like I can just lift it. But you see, that tray was not glued very good at the beginning. Do you remember me complaining about it? So I think what I'm gonna have to do is, I don't know if there's just not a good contact area where everything's mounted, but I'm not sure. Pull that transmitter over here, please. Big puddles of water. And I think what I need to do is I need to just be prepared to do this. This is gonna have to get re-glued down here. That needs to get pulled up, you see? But there's just a contact area back there and back here. So you guys might not be able to see this very good on this step, and that's just part of it because it is kind of, after all, a little bit of a tight squeeze. I'm just gonna let that CA sit on the edge. Now back here, I can't quite reach it as good. So I'm gonna let it sit there for a second. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna lean the plane just a little bit, I cannot do this so you can see. I'm doing it so it'll work. Yeah. So you see this? I have to let it down and then pick it back up. You see how it's kind of working in and out, that seam of glue. Once that seam of glue has started to work where I want it, then I'm gonna come in here and I just gotta keep away from all the action parts, the parts that move, and I'm just gonna start working it. Yep. And I'm just gonna work that kicker down in there. And that kicker sort of like goes along the joint slowly, okay? And it causes that chemical reaction to spread. Okay, so I just put a little bit more down here. And what it's doing is it's picking up and keeping a string as it's set. So now that I have that held in position, guess what? When I let go, look what happens. Nothing, it just stays there, okay? Now this is wet from drying up the counter, so I'm gonna grab this hose and just pull that end. See, it just breaks off. Every once in a while, I gotta do that, okay? Just knock off that big CA booger. So the other thing that's nice about having a Q-tip handy is that once the CA is sort of worked, you can take the CA off, you can dip it in, and then you can get in there and do it again, okay? And I'll just work that back and forth, and then that joint should be totally done. Now, that side's the side that was the most critically opened, right? Now, this side is where the plywood broke, okay? So because the plywood broke, now remember guys, I gotta say this right now, there's times when I crash planes because there's mistakes with the planes. This was an environmental thing. It was not necessarily a plane issue. This broke because I crashed it, okay? There are times that they break because they suck. There was probably a certain amount of that on this, but I did not have a very good landing, okay? I put it down sort of on its wheels. So just remember that when you're trying to make your decisions on this plane. I don't want to badmouth this plane because I flew it in crazy conditions. See, this is wet still. I wanted to get in there and glue that. I can probably glue it after I dry this out and come back to it, but I want to kind of finish this joint first. See this? I can still move this. Noticing a couple drips of water there, just as the snow sort of works its way out of the airframe. This is gonna be the next thing I wanna try to glue here. Okay, just kind of working from one step to the next, to the next, to the next. And it's, you know, sometimes it's easier said than done. Sometimes it's pretty straightforward stuff. This one's pretty straightforward. When they break this easy, it's kind of easy to sort of come up with a game plan. I need you to have your hands pointed way up here so that I can lift this, okay? See, I need that glue to just sort of slide down into the opening. See what I just did there? I blew that glue down into that opening. So I'm gonna push some more of it, and then I'm gonna come back here and push it down. And now I've got to do this in such a way that I try to get that seam closed tight. You see how it's pooping back out? Just kind of holding it for a minute. It's gonna keep that foam is gonna stick to it, and that's just the way it's gonna be. Okay, so I'm holding them tight. I don't wanna hold it tight, but I'm gonna hold it tight. Now I'm gonna take my other hand, and I'm gonna take a dip of kicker. Now watch this. Get in there with kicker, just let that stuff set up. I don't really care if there's a chunk of foam on there, or not foam, but what happens is once that sets up, it'll set up really, really fast and really hard on that component, okay? So this piece of whatever it is, we might get lucky, it might pop right off, but I can let go of it now. It's kind of relaxed out of position a little more than I wanted. I'm gonna get some forceps here. Forceps might help with the next couple of moments worth of surgery. We've done a lot of surgery on this plane for being brand new. Thoughts on the way it flew? It was fun, very fast. Tolerated the wind better than I expected. We gotta change our gains on the roll rate, and we gotta fix the safe, and we gotta fix, obviously, the landing gear, and then we gotta fix the down elevator correction.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't have enough. That's what it was. We did up elevator, but it was not enough, so it allowed the nose to go down. I was having to ride the elevator. We probably need to 8% more, I'm guessing. So a little bit more on takeoff flaps, a little bit more on landing flaps. Okay, so this is still here. Why is that still there? Because it's flexible still. If it would have been hard all the way down at the bottom, I would have been able to pop it off of there. So I'm gonna do that to pull it out. Try not to get CA in your actual opening. The teeth don't like that. Okay, so I don't know if that's kicker there, probably is, but that's okay. I don't mind that little chunk there. It's not gonna cause us any problems. In fact, it'll add strength, act like a little fiberglass reinforcement, even though it's actually cotton. So it'd be like cotton glass reinforcement. In fact, I'm gonna just go ahead and take advantage of that right now. I'm just gonna soak that in CA, come back here, soak the other break point, and then I'll just work it with the tip, which, you know, is kind of a gamble because you don't wanna get your tip all clogged up. You know what they say about keeping your tip clean. Okay, so I'm just gonna leave that there. Now I'm gonna come back and clean my tip immediately while it's still wet. Okay, and then I'm gonna squeeze this. See how it just shot a little bit out? Squeeze it again, make sure it's totally clean. Sometimes you gotta, I always put a little negative pressure in my bottles to keep them clean. Yep, okay, good. So now I can come back in there now that I've got that covering the surface. If you want the strongest bond, you'll let it cure as slow as possible, but I guess honestly, I don't really probably care that much on this setup. Okay, so I'm gonna come in here and paint. Okay, so you guys see how it wanted to pull it? That'll set up super fast now. Got that little residual. Pretty cool how fast that stuff works. It'll darn near catch on fire if you do it fast enough, but remember, this is low odor, this is foam safe, even though we swapped caps, okay? So now we've got a breakdown there. You can kind of see where the ply is still broken right there. And I'm gonna just get in there. And this is a standoff, it's plastic, so I can just run down the side of it. Ah, I was afraid that might have happened. I clogged the tip on that last push, okay? So because I clogged the tip, what I have to do is I usually like to keep these little modeler's pins, and then I can walk it 360 degrees, pull it out, get that little clog out, and then I'll usually go at it with a good squeeze. Yep, work that clog out, guys. Like a good clog that time, holy cow. I don't know if you can see the clog, hon. Mm-mm. Oh, it's big. So I'm gonna just take and, while I've got that clog working out, I'm gonna just hit that corner back there. I cannot work around your arm, just in case you were curious. Okay, so I'm gonna come back at it with this. I don't know if that's rock hard yet. Nope, it's good, so I can still dip. I'm gonna dip back here first, get that corner cooking, hold that in position, let that stuff work, make sure it's going into position. You can hear it, it sounds like hard plastic. That's because it pretty much is at this point. And I'm pulling up as I go, and I'm pulling over as I go, so that's gonna re-seam all this stuff back where it belongs. Can hear the servos sort of fight me a little bit, and that's not ideal, but you know, kind of is what it is. See how it relaxed? That's actually the substrate, the foam moving, not the wood. The wood is attached here. This is stronger than here, okay? Now I gotta get this seam closed, and this one's gonna be kind of tricky because I really almost kind of need to use my thin CA to just go into this joint here. But what I'd like to do is I'd like to see if there's a way to kind of pull this up, open it up, put a little medium CA is gonna fill the gap better, okay? This is called gap filling. So medium, foam safe. It doesn't say, it's, yeah, gap filling, medium. So now, if this would ever become broken again, this is gonna be tend to wanna come out, you know, this block. But I'm just gonna throw caution to the wind. I'm gonna pull the nose back. You see how it opens up that seam? My goal is to pump this glue in where it needs to go, okay? Which is gonna be down that seam, okay? Now I'm just gonna real carefully work down this crack, and I'm pulling hard. You see how I'm pulling with my thumb? Mm-hmm. See how it's white as I press hard? I'm just grabbing it as hard as I can and just twisting it away. See how it pulls in now? When I let go, watch what happens to the glue. It relaxes out. You see that? See that? How it's kind of squishing around in that joint? That's what you want. But I need to get it in there further. Now it'll wick a little bit if you're careful about the way you apply it. I want to stay off of the retract. If I ever have a retract completely fail, I can undo those 4 screws still, because that's a serviceable component. The block that actually holds it up, you could actually break this glue free still, by the way, guys. Believe me, the next landing might be the next time it happens. Okay, so I'm just letting that walk down into the crack. Another trick is you can take like a piece of wire. This happens to be like a I think a paper clip. And you can get in here and just work that in. See, probably worth it to just kind of work that back and forth. I'm gonna just open this opened a little bit. It's not a huge cavity, which is what I want. I don't want it to be a huge cavity. That means I closed the gap nicely. All right, so now since I gotta press this with my finger. I don't wanna use paper towel that's wet. Lick your finger, get it all spitty and gross, and then push it. Then go immediately to a clean spot on your paper towel, and you'll keep the CA from setting on your skin, which is kind of gross, I know, but whatever. Remember, here on Brian Phillips RC, what do we do?
We make it hard so you don't have to.
Yeah, that's right. All right, so we'll just do that. I'm gonna go back in with a licked finger, gross, I know. And then I'm gonna dry it. Okay, so you'll notice there's still quite a bit of loose glue there. You see that glue pooping around? But this is now closed, okay? So now I've gotta concentrate my efforts on that, and then this front seam that probably honestly should have been glued by the factory because like it just did not have any strength. Okay, so just watch that suck down into the seam, and once it stops, and that means we're ready for kicker, okay?
Do you need another paper towel?
I'll ask if I need it,
Okay.
yeah. So no. Okay. All right, now watch this, guys. Start in the center. If in doubt, just let it sit there, okay? Let it sit there. And if you want more on there, pull that out and it'll stop the hydraulic lock from having like your finger on the end of a hose or pipe. Straw, if you will. Take that straw, get in there, run it lengthwise. Okay. So now kicker is not the cheapest stuff in the world. It's actually pretty expensive, but it's a lot cheaper than CA. So if you're looking for like quick action and you're trying to do this without using kicker, you might want to just maybe not try because kicker makes so much easier time of this type of repair because you can do everything quick. And when I say quick, I mean quick is not always just like a lazy, like, you know, short planning kind of thing. Sometimes quick is like all you can do to kind of hold things together. Other times, quick is the difference between failure and success because you need it to take time. Like when you're putting these booms on. If this would have been CA together, I think it would have taken a lot more brunt of the damages. Okay, so as you can see, I can slide my finger across there and looks like just a limited tiny teeny bit of residual, but barely any. Oh, and by the way, that little bit of residual there, that will come off. I'll take acetone, I'll put it on a cloth and I'll just wipe my fingertip. It'll be totally clean then. It'll be all dried out though, so then put lotion on, okay? All right, so this is now part of the plane again, like it should be. Real quick, just while I can, make sure everything still functions. Yep. Okay, so we've got good function, everything's working. I can live with that so far. So now our next move, our next target of opportunity is gonna be back here. So before I start that, I'm gonna get some more Q-tips and come right back. All right, so we got some more Q-tips here, and now I gotta glue this. This is a little bit tricky because I gotta try to get glue into this opening, and I'm trying to think of the best way to do it, and to be honest, I'm not 100% sure. Obviously, we wanna get it flipped so that the glue can go where the glue seam is. So the seam is actually along the side here on these castle cutouts here. So I think what I'm gonna have to do is I'll have to go ahead and just kind of almost slip this in dry and just kind of see how everything lines up first, okay? Because there just wasn't a lot of glue on it to begin with, and I want to remedy that problem, okay? And I don't want to damage my cabling, and I don't want to overly stress the airframe. Okay, so now that's back into its position, okay? So I can see where it needs to be, and I almost feel like the best thing to do would be to just get the glue on that part and then rock this into this part. And I just want to try to avoid gluing the plastic to the wood, okay? So I'm just not sure the best way to get it in there. So I'm just gonna have to go like kind of clogged it. Okay, so when you clog it, we've talked about this, it does kind of happen sometimes. The best thing I've found is when you clog it, the reason you clogged it is because the last time you worked it, you let the tip chase a little clog back into the tip, which I was afraid I might have done that. Okay. By the way, when you're doing these repairs, sometimes it can be tempting to just get really down on yourself for having crashed, but you know, after a while you kind of realize, hey, this is kind of part of the hobby. And obviously we fly in unique circumstances because we're always, you know, working deadlines and stuff like that. We want to get our content posted first or whatever, because that's part of YouTube. But in this case, we just have terrible weather. Yeah. So it's like, you know, it's not like, hey, we're racing to get a video release. We're racing to get the one window out of like 47 non-windows.
Because it's going to get
worse.
Terribler.
Yeah. So if you guys understand what we're talking about, and that comes with the territory too. Good Lord.
Oh, it's really bad.
Yeah, it's pretty clogged. Good Lord, I just like really did it. But at least I can clean my tip while I'm doing this. You guys see what I'm having to do? I'm really having to work it. Once you get something in there, more than likely, it's gonna come out fine, okay? So I'm gonna just go ahead and work that, pull it out. At minimum, you've got the size of the needle, but that's not a full opening, okay? So I have to be genuinely prepared to deal with this. And so I've got my different tools at my disposal, got the kicker ready to go, because this might be kind of a fast and furious thing. And I definitely want to have it inboard on the counter. Yeah, I'm not liking the way that's working. Okay, so now sometimes when I get a clog like this, it's really bad. I'll actually get the drill out. Whoa, see? It even bent it that time. I don't know, could you see that?
I saw it slip, it bent.
It bent.
That's crazy.
Oh, good Lordy Lord, the tip came off. Okay, we'll get this unclogged, come back. All right. So we're gonna get some glue in there. We're gonna get some glue along here. And it's pretty heavy. I'm going heavy with my glue. And yes, I'm gonna get it on that black stuff too, which sucks, but I was debating in my mind about how I could do this. I kind of got to inject the glue, which is not ideal, but it's better to get it in there a little bit slobby than it is to not get it in there and have it break immediately. Now here's the second problem, is now I got to try to pull that excess back down in, so create a vacuum, pull it sideways. See, I didn't clean it, and if it sounds like a baby nose sucker, you still got glue in there, so work it, okay? Problem is, a lot of times you're trying to do that, you're trying to get the glue to set, you want to get the glue in the right spot, so it's like, which one came first? What's more critical? Keep your tip clean or get your glue project glued? Okay, I'm gonna go back over the top of the seam. It's back into its home position now. So I think probably what's gonna happen is when I'm done with that, worst case scenario, I have to flip a plane over and try to get glue onto the other side of that joint. And I don't know if I can do that exactly, but I'm gonna squeeze this until it starts coming out and then just let it pull it all back down in. Okay, real quick while that glue was sitting there, I went up a gauge to one of these modeling pins. It's about double the size of what I was using before, okay? Maybe triple. Mm-hmm. Those things are invaluable when you're trying to get clogs cleared on your glue tips. Okay, so now that I've got that glue, it's been working, obviously flowing down into the cracks and the crevices. It's gonna make it a nightmare to work on this one again, so hopefully I don't break my actual retract. The retract is not broken, that's why we tested it before I did that. Because there's no sense in fixing it if it's already broken, you know? Or if it's broken, you'll have to get in there and fix it somehow first. See, you can see that change in coloration when it starts setting up. That kicker will actually chemically react down inside of the plane. So it'll actually pull that reaction into that puddle of CA, which is one of the reasons why CA works so good. Yeah, see guys, look, it's already like basically solid. Now, I want to just be super careful that it doesn't make its way into any of that. And that's why we use medium for this and not thin. Thin would have made its way into that with that level, with that much, okay? Now, this one is set up quite a bit, but I'm gonna go ahead and just overdo it a little bit because that's what we do on this channel. Because we make it hard so you don't have to. All right, so there's that. So then we'll come back in with some kicker. This one's a little bit less critical, a little easier. We'll just hit it in the middle of each of those glue joints, and it should just wick along the joint, and it'll set that stuff really quick. They call it instant set, and it really does instant set.
It does.
Okay. So now that this is all together, this is all together, this is re-glued, or glued, I should say. This is glued, and I'm hoping that we didn't get a bunch on the battery. We might have got a drip or so on the battery. That might have been kicker too. Yeah, that was just kicker.
Okay.
But up here, we've got this re-glued. So as you can see, we've got structural strength, we've got structural strength, and we got structural strength. Now let's recheck for mobility. Before we flip this over, we'll have to check that tray. When we're done, we'll pull that battery out and see if there's cracks and things that we can glue from the top. Okay, so gear coming in. Okay, bent. Do you see this one? It was bent when it hit. So I'm gonna brace this. This is too thin. I need something with a thicker head on it. Note to self, put cap on glue. All right. A thicker head would be, you know, pliers maybe like this. You can tell this is bent back just from looking at it. So I want to brace this. You can hang on to it and bend it that way, or, you know, it'd be even better. One of my favorite tools in tool history, not the crescent wrench, the sizable wrench. Okay, now there's two ways to do this. You can take it apart and do it right, or you can do it halfway like I'm gonna generally do, okay? Because the bend is just, it's right there, right? Let's just try it. Let's just see if we can do it before we get too bent out of shape. Haha. Oh yeah, that's hard on that body. Hard on that body. Okay, we might have it. I don't know if we got enough yet. Oh yeah, it's close. It maybe needs just a hair more. So now this time, I'm gonna come in here and hold this. And then I'm just gonna hold this so it stays flush, and then I'm gonna pull on the gear. Now I'm gonna let go. That probably pre-stressed it midway down the bogey. Now look at the gap. See the gap? It's tight there. Okay, so I'm gonna come in here. What I wanna do is I just wanna go, ooh, like that, and just really bend it. Well, the problem is if you try to do that, you'll break it, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get my second most favoriteest tool, a second crescent wrench. This one's metric, this one's standard. Okay, so I'm gonna just get this. Now I'm gonna hold this at an angle so I can apply a little bit of leverage here on the handle as I counter that leverage by bending forward. Okay, now I let go. Now watch this. Oh yeah. Ooh, that's getting pretty close. How are we looking in the pockets? Are we even? Feels like maybe it could just, maybe just a hair. Although to be honest, I don't know, that's lined up pretty good. You see how this is not quite square and even? Mm-hmm. See how this is not quite square and even? It's kind of like, let's call it 3/5 of the gap. 3/5 of the gap. They're not in the same position. They're mirrors of each other. So I think we've probably got it centered. Okay. How do we know? Open them and see where they look. Go down there, line them up. Go back. Does it look lined up?
Yeah, it looks really even.
Okay. So now, if those bogeys aren't perfect, it's not gonna make a big difference. And then AS3X Plus is still working. By the way, on the takeoff, that thing was rock solid down the runway until I rolled. The other thing too is for some of you, some idiot made a comment in our video on that plane, and they were like, something about full throttle takeoff. And I'm like, yeah, well, when you fly with, okay, so you're going down the runway, so you got 90 degrees, you got 180 degrees, so you're taking off with the wind. That's not smart, okay? Well, I was like 275 degrees of wind because the nature of the lighting and the nature of the runway configuration. And so, of course, I took off fast. And sometimes you just got to take off fast because that's the only option you have. I mean, just ask Mike Patey about that. I'm serious. I mean, he did in real life.
Yeah.
That's what happened to him. If he would have just taken off into the wind, he wouldn't have crashed the Draco. the real one.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not trying to make fun of, I mean, he's an awesome pilot, but.
Well, and everything we do usually is maiden flights. Like, you
Oh,
don't
yeah.
know how it's going to respond. Like, you
No.
just have to get in the air.
We get in the air, you can deal with it after that.
Right.
Once you're in the air, you got to figure out how to get back down, sure. Okay, so as you can see, we've got just, oh, there's a little bit of water here. Grab me another paper towel, I'm gonna dry this up. So guys, when you bring a plane in from a snow impact like that, one of the first things you do is check your EDF fan, because a lot of times you'll suck ice in and you'll break your fan. Check the fan for me. Check it. No, get up there.
Oh.
Get up there. Okay, I just wanted to make sure it was good.
It's good.
Is it good?
I don't know. Maybe you should check.
It was like you knew that was gonna happen.
I knew.
Okay, so we'll pull this out. Oh, dang it, that's where the water's coming from. There's just a little bit of water capsulated in here. Encapsulated.
Yeah, snow chunk right there.
Chunk, okay.
How is it still frozen?
Huh? Well, it's inside of a foam object.
Well, that's true.
I mean, it's like a cooler.
In a cooler?
It's a cooler, yeah. Okay, so guys, so far thoughts on this plane. High energy, high fun. Still probably not suited for 270-degree landings, 270-degree crosswind landings.
Into a snowbank?
No, I wasn't that bad off today. I was coming in like this, and the wind was like that, and that was the best angle I could hit. Because what I was trying to do is I wanted to go in and do a long strip like this, but it was just forcing me. The problem is the wind was so fast that it was like glide speed plus. So it's like, okay, how do you overwhelm that? You don't, is the key. All right, show the people from top to bottom now. Yes, the battery's in there, but I want to keep it in there so we got more setup to do. But I think, yeah, we have a break here, and we'll have to glue that. And you see that right there? I obviously don't want to get it like in the battery or anything, you know. You can see where that plywood's busted, and that doesn't surprise me even a little bit. So we'll get in there and we'll just like cover that up. A lot of times what I do when I'm trying to fix something like that is I will take a bunch of toothpicks on plywood and I'll drop them into a puddle of CA. And I know it sounds ridiculously simple and probably simple-minded too, but it just usually works fine. Because these trays almost always, they're kind of crappy anyway. This one was not glued down good enough. But as you can see, what broke because there wasn't much supporting it, okay? That means you're depending on these two little tiny carbon fibers coming up here and this little teeny thin chunk of foam, okay? This is a pretty big airframe, guys, to have leveraged up here. Oh, wow. Look at our decals. Holy cow. I didn't know that happened. That's not good. Oh, man. That's not good. That really screwed those up.
Yeah, it did.
Disappointed, man. That's the sort of quality things that I know that Hobby King is trying to get away from. So you're gonna have to do better because that's the sort of stuff we point out. So anyway, not a big deal. Not gonna make or break a plane for me. What does make or break a plane is the ground. All right, setup time, correction time. You ready? Mm-hmm. First things first, click, scroll down to flaps, flap system. So that's minus 10. I'm gonna go minus 16 and I'm gonna go minus 8. Now, it always seems to be 6 and 8 because of the way I do my ratios. So I'm gonna do 10. That's probably gonna make it nose up just a hair, I bet. I hope I'm not wrong. Then I'm gonna do 18.
Okay.
And you know what? I was at 6, so I'm gonna go back to, I'll do 8. And for whatever reason, it just needed more. It's probably because we didn't do hardly any deflection for the takeoff setting. And then the landing setting was just a lot. But we still have plenty of roll authority. That was nice. Also, we need to set forward programming, connecting, gyro settings. Oh no, that's under other settings. Where is that thing? Gyro settings. Save settings. No, where is that stupid setting?
To adjust the...
No, just, yeah, it's other settings. No, It is under gyro settings though. They move it because it's in your first time safe setup and then they move it to a different one. System setup, there it is, orientation. Nope, that's not it. It's hand launch assist, safe panic mode setup. Okay, safe. Throttle to pitch, no, attitude trim, there it is. Why do they hide that thing? Okay, so let's talk about what was happening. This plane was leaning to the right and too much pitch down. So okay, positive and negative, we know that it's negative on both. So in our case, on the roll, we were going this way, so that'd be right. So negative is nose down. So we obviously want to change the pitch from -1 or -2. I'm just going to go ahead and put it to 0, okay? And I'm hoping that's not too much. It might climb a little bit. If it does, I'll do -1. And then roll, what is negative? Would be roll left. So we need this to be more negative. So let's do -2. And then, because it did seem to pitch down a little bit more than I wanted.
Okay.
I'd rather it have a hesitation to try to climb. And there's certain planes that just fly, you know, like the Twin Otter likes to fly like this. It flies like this. That's the way it cruises, which is weird. Just something about the angle of incidence on the wing compared to the tail. And with this boom, I bet that's probably what does it to us, because this boom is not super strong. And so when that boom is flexing under certain loading conditions, it might allow it to kind of dip down because gravity. I don't know, but I'm going to set it to -2 and 0, and then we'll just apply that. Now, real quick, I'm going to go back to this and just see what this does. Yeah, see, look at that. Now it's a -3, okay? So I'm going to go back. I'm going to go to 0. And then this one, well, negative is roll left. So I want it to roll. I'm just going to put it to 0 and 0, right?
Okay.
Because, yeah, I mean, that's going to get us close to what we were or what we want. Because that should, moving it from -2 to 0 should, oh, wait, that's going to roll us to the right.
No, I think you need to go more minus.
I need to go more minus. My apologies,
-2.
folks. That's right. So it captured -2, almost like the receiver had shifted just a little bit.
Yeah, that is.
Okay, so I'm going to do this. Okay, hold on. All right, so this is going to roll us now a little bit more to the left. So it's going to exaggerate the left, which is going to get away from our right droop. And I'm hoping that's about right. Okay, so we just walk out of there. And what else did we want to do? So we did the flap correction. So now the takeoff flaps, we're going to go up just a hair more, and then landing flaps is going to go up quite a bit more. Obviously, we glued everything back together, and we changed the roll ratio, and you can see we've been flying for 60 minutes. It's a pretty good flight time.
That's good. Impressive.
Just kidding, guys. All right, so there you have it. The Flycat V2. Next thing we got to do is we got to pull the battery, and we got to see if there's really any damage there. I feel like, you know what? You know what would have changed?
What?
When I glued that tray in, it changed the absolute position of the plane. Because I bet you anything that nose gear got kicked down. Because it was like this, and we pulled it into position and glued it. It was, I mean, this is exaggerated, but let's say it was 1 degree off. We pulled it into 0 degrees.
From where we set it yesterday, which is why it was different.
Which is why it's different. And whatever sort of asymmetry we had in exact alignment in that hole,
yeah,
there's just so much going in there. There's so many wires, I can't tell.
And if you were really close to the edge from one number to the next, it wouldn't take much to adjust that.
No. Okay, so we'll pop out this battery. Guys, this is the battery we used. China Hobby lines. I usually don't undo it all the way, but I'm just gonna show you how I do this. This pulls out, it comes to this point, and then it comes out. Now, the stupid part of this plane is that you have this whole assembly here. Look at this. No, go up, just show it from there.
Oh.
You see how far my fingers are in? Your canopy covers all of this. So there's extra lateral strength here by leaving this foam intact. But the problem is it's harder to load the batteries, okay? So just keep that in mind. And by the way, my battery still got a little bit of moisture on it, but no glue. We did good. We didn't get any glue to come down onto the battery, so that's good. In terms of usability, those China Hobby Lines batteries have been pretty good so far. We haven't had a lot of problems, but the truth is we've been flying in cold. And to be honest, cold is actually where we tend to have more problems with our lipos than hot, because it just tends to not get that terribly hot in Iowa compared to some parts of the country. But it is, we do have hot times too, where it's like, 100 and something degrees. And I'm pressing, and I just can't tell if the receiver is moving. I don't think it is, but like, guys, look at that bundle from our radio setup. If you watch the radio setup, you'll see what I'm talking about. And it's just, they were just like not really a good way to do that. So what I gotta fix now, or attempt to fix right now, is just where this ply cracked here. And then up there you can see where it's cracked. I just don't know how the heck I'm gonna do that. That's actually, I don't understand exactly what I'm gonna do to fix that, if I'm going to be able to fix that. I am just gonna have to set glue in there and just kicker it.
Just shove some in there and...
Well, I mean, it's just an awkward angle, but it's like, oh, there's a big chunk of snow in there too.
Oh.
Okay, watch yourself. I'm gonna try to get the snow out. There it is, Mother Nature. So guys, when you have a crash, remember, it's not always about the plane. Sometimes it's about the pilot. I think in this case, it was definitely the pilot. Oh, you know what that is? You know what that is, hon?
What?
We did push that nose down. Look at the nose. It's at an angle. We pushed that in. Like that thing, we pushed it down too far.
You pushed it down too far?
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, yeah, because that's what's going on here. Is that battery tray in there? Show the people. The battery tray in there, you see the plywood where it's broken there? I glued it all into position in that wrong position. I don't care.
Oh.
That's fine. I'll take the extra couple of degrees of angle. I was complaining about that in our unbox build radio setup, but now I guess I'm gonna have it even more. Because I'm gonna go in there and glue that. Now, there's another trick I learned a long time ago, and that is when you have an angle, when you have a piece of plywood that's like in an inaccessible area, there's a trick, and it's paper towels. You can get in there, and it doesn't have to be paper towels. You can actually use, fiberglass. And you can use fiberglass and epoxy or resin if you want to use the actual stuff. But the thing is, like, what's going to happen is if I have another hard landing, it's going to want to pop back in there. So I'm sort of torn, like, do I want to glue it together or do I just leave it? Because I actually don't have a problem with that angle. I think it's going to be better for the plane. But it's not moving at all.
I would just...
You think leave it and then get a rough landing or two in there and see if it pops back into place?
Probably. Our weather conditions aren't going to change much.
Are you suggesting that it's going to be another huge, miserable failure?
No, I'm just suggesting that our weather is crappy, so it's...
Yeah. And our next flight's going to be just as bad as it was today. Well, it's going to be less windy.
It's supposed to be a little less windy.
That's the key. Well, guys, I don't know. I feel kind of like stuck between a bad place and a worse place on this because I want to give the Flycat V2 a fair shake. But sometimes these things are kind of hard to fix.
Since it's already glued,
it feels,
I don't want you to break something else.
But it feels solid. Like it literally feels solid. I feel like I just get in there and put some glue and then kicker it and be done with it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what we're doing.
Okay.
All right, guys.
This is gonna be super awkward to film, just FYI.
It might be one of those where we just have to be like, take our word for it sort of thing, but.
I mean, I'll do the best I can, but.
Well, I'm not gonna be able to wait for you.
Yeah, no, I know.
So what's gonna happen is I'm gonna put this glue in, okay? I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna build a dam.
Okay.
Okay, the dam is gonna be consisting of a Q-tip that's gonna make a dam. It's gonna hold, it's gonna make a reservoir for the glue. So I'll show you what it looks like when I get this one done.
Okay.
Ready?
Yep. I'm just gonna kind of stay out of your way, mostly.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Okay. One of my favorite parts of working with this media is constantly unclogging the tips. So I'm gonna unclog this and come right back. All right, here it goes. Get. Okay. Okay, I got glue all the way down the seam. I had one drip that went out of place. I'm gonna stick that thing in there, camera crew.
Okay.
You gonna be able to get a shot of this or not? kind of guessing on the knot side. Turn that light on.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going in here with kicker right next to that spot. Now, this might be one of those times where I have to take, yeah, look, I got it. I got it. You guys see that? Right there, I made a dam. Okay, see the dam?
Okay.
So now that dam is gonna hold the glue, and I'm doing about 20 drips or 10 drips. And right on the edge of that. Camera crew, oh, shibbity balls. I'm hoping that's not all just shooting through the frame.
Oh.
Nope, that's water. Okay. Oh, thank goodness. Yep, that's water.
Okay.
Oh my goodness, I was thinking, holy cow, that's a lot of glue I just got on my counter. Okay, you guys, shine it in here, I can't move. See where I got that glue?
Yep.
Now look, pull it out again, knock that over, knock that over, knock that over. Come on, get in there, give it a twist or two. She's not wanting to stay, so I'm just gonna make her stay. I'm gonna get some glue in there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 drips. Flip the bottle, get back in to the kicker, boom. Stick that down in the hole. Make it happening. Tony Beats style.
Good job, Tony Beats.
See that? Look at that. Now we've got that. We're gonna pull this out, pull it out again, grab any loose glue, knock over your sharp thingies. You see what's happened now? Now we've got this little cremation, that's not what I meant, crustation. Okay, crustation. It's not coming out of the plane anywhere. The stuff you see dripping is water, guys. That's water. There must have been like water in one small cavity here. That's what I thought I was dripping out, and I'm like, holy cow, I just got tons of CA on my counter. It's one thing to get a little bit of CA on your counter. You can wipe it up, believe it or not. And if you get CA on granite, you get it off of there. But if it's on like a vinyl, or not a vinyl, but like a
Laminate countertop.
laminate, oh buddy, you might as well just go straight to the graveyard. Do not pass go, do not collect $200. All right, see the other side now? This one, I think what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go kind of crazy and just get that glue in there. And this is a ridiculous repair technique that I almost never have to do anymore, thank God. But the thing is, this is actually working pretty reasonably good, because I think we're gonna end up with a better solution than what was there before, like better than factory.
I mean, retracts are always a vulnerable spot, and if they're not super secure.
Yeah, but I don't think it was the retract's fault on this one. I think it was the
snowbank and
the snowbank was hit because of the way the retracts worked. And also, the thrust reverse was not, it didn't turn on. Did you notice that when I did my first pass and tried it?
I couldn't tell because I wasn't sure when you did it.
It didn't turn on. It went full throttle.
That's what I thought it did.
Yeah, which doesn't surprise me. About the time you need thrust reverse on some of these planes, it won't work. And, you know, to be honest with you, the sooner I figure out that I can't depend on non-avian thrust reverses the way that I do avian thrust reverses, probably the better off I'm gonna be. But I don't know, I'm just an optimist.
Is that it?
Anybody who knows me knows that that's a joke.
Yeah.
Except I am.
Sometimes.
Okay, show the people. Get in there. I gotta stay over this rag.
Yeah, you're fine.
You see what's going on there?
Yep.
See how it's glued in?
That's amazing.
See that giant drip? Oh yeah, I just pulled out in the nick of time. Guys, you gotta pull out in the nick of time. Otherwise the consequences get way worse. Okay, look at that. See that?
Beautiful.
Pretty good?
I don't know. It's gonna work, I think.
Well, see now here's the key. Now you go in there again, you get that stuff glued, and now you've got this huge like clod of stuff holding everything together.
Yeah.
And it might have been $3 or $4 worth of CA, but you got a plane that's actually got some structural rigidity to it, which to be honest with you is that's not underrated, guys. There's something about having enough strength to hold your plane together that just isn't overrated.
Yeah.
Okay. Every time I rip off, I just go for another dip in the kicker and just get in there. Just get in there and mix that thing up and just have a good old time. Okay, so we're just letting that set up. Your light should be on.
There we go.
You guys see what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now I'll pull out again. There's lots of pulling out in this video. I feel like we didn't pull out the way this has gone. Okay, so that's in there. Guys, look. No movement, nothing. Nothing, guys. Mm-mm. Sorry, I moved the servo. I didn't mean to move the servo, folks. Now, the other thing I'm gonna do real quick is I'm gonna grab this here. I'm gonna clamp onto it, and I'm gonna use this to get in here and just check the glue. Yep, that glue is all dry. That glue is all set. That glue is all dry. That glue is all set. Just mostly for the fact that I don't want it to go down on the serverless retract case. I just want it between those wood pieces, okay? Now, I'm gonna say this unequivocally. I am confident that we have a stronger plane than when we started, okay? The angle of incidence of the whole plane is up by whatever that is. So half a degree or something like that. And that may not be ideal, but we still want to be representative of what this plane actually has to offer to you, our valued audience. And so if you're curious about how we got into this predicament, obviously you guys can watch the entire Maiden flight series, and we're going to try to share all of it just like we normally do. Mm-hmm. The difference is sometimes we run into circumstances where we have like a crash that I have caused and it doesn't add anything to the plane itself. And so we may not always show that. Well, in this case, there's a pretty significant failure. Even though it was tied into a crash, those gear all broke out. Every one of them needed fixed. Would you be surprised if I told you a Hobby King plane had gear breakout?
I would not be surprised.
Okay, me neither. So that being said, the gear were kind of so-so on the Yak 11, right? Mm-hmm. On the other one we did, they were okay.
That was technically a Durafly.
No, I know, but it's still a Hobby King product.
Yeah.
You guys see what I'm doing here? I'm switching my lids back. Now, if you go from thick to thin, sometimes you run the risk of contaminating your glue. So make sure you squeeze the air out as you're doing this. And then make sure your lid is either capped all the way down. Okay. Squeeze the air out. Look at this chunk I got here. This little residual chunk. Mm. No, I'm not going to hand it to you. Are you kidding me? I'm just putting it in the garbage can. But you just got to make sure those residual chunks are off of there so that your lid will seal up. Okay, see how I'm squeezing it? Now this stuff will be good to go for a while. You see it? Run to the edge of the bottle. Mm-hmm. That's pretty good for medium CA. Same thing here. That's getting pretty thick. This stuff is probably on its way out, meaning it's not going to last much longer. I would have liked to use that. It would have been faster setting, but when you put that much CA and you put kicker to it, you really genuinely run the risk of melting the foam, even if it can handle it, okay? So the angle of our nose gear, you'll notice is back a little bit, but we've already seen that it can retract. It's not causing a big problem. It does kind of run into its own battery though, I noticed. So we'll see if that causes the problem. Obviously we'll pipe up and mention if we have problems that come with that. This plane, it's fun to fly. Oh, there's one other thing we have to change. Gains on the yaw. I'm glad I caught that. Okay, so let's go ahead and get the battery in here. Now, transmitter on first. Throttle cuts on, forward thrust, gear down. Plug it in. Okay. Now guys, that's water, by the way. Just double checking. Anywhere I see a drip, okay? All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna jump into forward programming now. Forward programming, connect to the gyro, AS3X settings, gains. So this needs to be a little bit less on the master gains. So I'm gonna go to 30, and then in safe, I'm gonna go to 30 as well, okay?
On roll?
Just on roll.
Okay.
I didn't notice a big issue on the others. In fact, let's do 25. Yeah, I don't know if I want to do that on this mode though, just safe. Yeah, let's do 25. So that's a pretty big drop, okay? Because you see my gain is down. So now I can put my gain back up to neutral, like 50% or so. And then I said I wanted to go a little bit higher on my dual rates in Expo for ailerons, okay? Was I not? I am not 100% certain. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna just kick this up to 12. I'll make this 6, and I'm gonna make this 24. 25, okay?
Okay.
So we're gonna start in the 12. Having effect, doubling effect. I think we might have been in
that.
Yeah, which would have made it a little bit loosey-goose. And here's the thing, guys, when we're flying in heavier, you know, like cold weather gear and stuff like that, it's easier to bump a switch that you aren't anticipating.
Not notice it.
So, just something to keep an eye on. We will keep an eye on it when we do our Maiden flight. If we have better success, there's a good possibility you're gonna see this flight and crash second. But I just wanna say this. I really did have a good time flying it. It did hurt to fly, but that was because of the temperature and not necessarily because of the performance of the plane. Also, this battery, just so you guys can see it, we don't talk a lot about this because generally the video is done and over by the time we realize, you know, hey, we didn't really mention anything. Let's show the people what the battery did. So plugging this in, we'll just show you what we got. 62%. So we got lots of juice left.
Yeah.
So we flew for a little bit over 3 minutes. I think we did about like 4.5, 5 minutes maybe.
I think it was just over 3.
Just over 3? Okay. Well, I'll take your word for it, Cam Crew, but I'm going to tell you this. We have 62% of capacity left in this. That means that we could have gone, you know, considerably longer. I don't know how much longer that is. And by the way, when it's that cold, you start to really kind of like potentially lose capacity, and not just a little bit. You lose quite a bit of capacity. Flycat V2. Am I going to recommend the Flycat V2? I don't know if you're even asking that, but here's the thing I'm going to tell you about every plane that we review on this channel. Every plane, up to and including Dynams, somebody wants, okay? Everybody's got different budgets. Everybody has different taste. Everybody has different styles and techniques of flying. And that's part of the reason why flying is so fun, because everybody can get exactly what they want in a model aviation experience. It's not like you have to, you know, have the FAA approve your airframe and make sure it's gonna be like safe enough. I mean, the FAA is involved now, but it's kind of a huge joke if you ask me, and they shouldn't be. Because after all, this is how a lot of people get excited about flying full scale and how we end up with full scale pilots. And we have a big shortage of that in our society. So as far as I'm concerned, I think this plane is definitely a fun plane. Is it gonna be probably my cup of tea? I don't know. I haven't decided yet. I'd like to get a good flight under my belt first before I start making recommendations about it. But I can tell you this, it did pretty good in pretty terrible conditions, up until the point where I had to land. Now, did it crash because I did a bad job as a pilot? I'm not even gonna say that, because I don't think it was a bad piloting issue. I think it was just like really rough conditions, really tough conditions. And so, does that mean that it's a bad plane? No, absolutely not. Am I gonna sit here and trash a plane that sucks? I will point out the things that I think are ridiculously out of context for what China told us to expect when that happens. I can think of a plane that was of recent vintage that we just did for a competitive brand that I hated the way it performed, and they claimed really high of what it's gonna do and how it was gonna do it based on what they sold, the bill of goods they sold. And I called them out on it the whole way through the video because I was annoyed about it. And it started with an F and ended with 18. And it was 64 millimeters.
Oh.
Because I just thought, what the heck is going on with this plane? Like it's got all this, you know, beautiful landing gear, and it just barely does what it's supposed to do. I mean, it did a good job, hand launch, belly land, but then it destroys itself on landing.
Right.
This destroyed itself on landing too, but not because it's not capable of landing. It destroyed itself on landing because we flew it in bad conditions, okay? And we know that. That is a factor in what we consider when we talk about whether or not a plane is good or bad.
And most planes aren't meant to land on an aircraft carrier, and that's like pretty much how we fly.
Yeah, but at the same time, I think that this thing could do a considerably short landing. The thrust reverse did not work when I expected it.
Right.
But when you have that heavy of a wind that you're landing into, it is gonna idle. It is gonna idle the motor. When I say the motor, I mean the actual in-runner brushless motor. And guess what? The feedback from that spinning motor still gets to the ESC. So the electronic speed control knows the position and the momentum and the movement of the actual fan because it is tabulating it to help know what next set to fire. Okay? So my fear is you get into a heavy enough headwind, you're probably not gonna be able to turn pilot fatigue on this plane. Or if you're landing too hot. When do we need pilot fatigue? When we're landing too hot.
Yeah.
That being said, if that wind would have been, okay, just so you guys, because you guys aren't in our house, you don't know my property like I do. This is about, that was about the wind we had. It wasn't quite 90 degrees. So I came in from the bull and then I tried to take a landing at the widest point where our sidewalk curves and comes down and we have about a 55-foot landing strip at an angle. I thought I might be able to cheat, but we also had berms of snow to deal with. And then I thought once I get on the ground, I could thrust reverse and then bring it in. That was my plan, strategically. I did think this through. I know it doesn't look like it in the video, but these are things that I think about when I'm flying. And you should too, obviously. It just did not perform that maneuver good, but I also didn't execute that maneuver good. So I don't want you to take marks off of the plane because of that. Also, this might have got whacked by the snow. Might have. I don't think so though. I think this would have broke even if it was a calm day. You wanna know why? Because you can't put that type of decal on a manipulation joint like that.
So as soon as it manipulated, it breaks and then
at some point
comes off?
Yeah, so it looks like
flakes
crap
off.
like this. Now also, I scraped the wing. Do you remember that one pass that I did where I was like, thinking I might try to like do a touch and go or whatever the heck I was doing? This thing did really good. It marred it, but it didn't do bad at all. Like it didn't rip the wing off. There's some planes that would have ripped the wing off. So I gotta say, for being a first experience, I am disappointed. I wanted more. It flew really good in the air, but I wanted to be able to bring it in and do a precision landing because I thought maybe we could do that with this plane. So, you know what it does reinvigorate in my soul though?
What?
My strong desire to redo the Vampire.
Yeah, that's what I was
Because the
thinking too.
Vampire took our the Vampire killing zone is over here.
Yep.
And they re-released the Vampire again, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
We may have to redo that, but I had so much effort in that plane. I do not want to do all that again.
Well, hopefully it's a newer
And it sounded like a
version.
vacuum cleaner.
It did.
This thing did not sound like a vacuum
No.
cleaner. And I gotta say, guys, it had tons of power, tons of juice. I feel like the people that are gonna be sport flying this in the park, here is on the flip side of what I'm telling you that's really important to learn. If you guys are watching this and you're thinking, you know, it used to just be a belly lander. I understand why now after seeing that landing. Yeah, because to be frank, if it was a belly lander, I could have put it down in the snow. It would have been fine. It would have been totally fine. And I could have had it ambidextrous. I could have landed in any direction and I would have been able to find a spot to put it down. And to be honest, look where the air inlets are. They're way up here. The only thing that's down is this one inlet down here,
On the bottom,
okay?
yeah.
Right in the middle. I keep grabbing the wheel wells. But if there weren't wheel wells there and that inlet, that cheater was somehow, you know, maybe not there, maybe it was up on top instead, you could belly land that thing all day. And so I gotta say, when a plane is a good belly lander and it's designed as such and then it's marketed as such and then it works okay as such, I'm not gonna beat them up for it. I might say, hey, it'd be cool to see retracts, and then they put retracts on them and they blow. Well, I don't think these retracts blow. I just think we crashed it. But some planes that have fixed gear on belly landers, they just don't really work that good. And it's just like a lame-o experience. This one was not lame-o because of the gear, but because it has retracts, that added an extra channel because we wanted AS3X to nose control, you know, for the extra steerable nose gear, which worked flawlessly on our takeoff, by the way, even though it wanted to roll like this early. It still kept up with it, which is great because we had enough airspeed that the rudders were effective. Pretty cool. Secondly, the flaperons, I kind of hate to admit this, but I'm guessing that the average Joe is probably not going to care because this mid-engine sort of setup, where the CG is, where it balances out. You can bring it in. You could probably high alpha the thing to a certain extent because you got so much power to get out of the hole. I'm kind of guessing a lot of people are just going to get into a high alpha configuration and then just put down. They're not going to need the flaperons. So that would speak to the manufacturer, you know, like in our unbox build radio set, we're calling them out saying, hey, why aren't you letting us have this feature? Well, the reality is, if you're not letting us have a feature because you know it doesn't work well, that's fine. But I still want the choice to fail on my own. So I'm still holding by my original position, but I just don't know if most people are going to care. Also, we didn't have this adjusted with enough amplitude to help us get that nice slowdown effect. And again, with super high winds, you tend to have to fly a little bit faster. I want this really wide flight envelope, you know, airspeed, minimum airspeed, maximum airspeed. I like that as wide as possible. I don't really even care that much about super high speed. I care more about super low speed because that's what we need on carrier landings. So hopefully those findings help you make your best decision as to whether or not the Flycat V2 is going to be right for you, okay? Because at the end of the day, here on Brian Phillips RC, we want you guys to be able to derive all the answers to your questions, the deepest, darkest secrets about RC, and all the different manufacturers that are releasing planes all the time. Will help you make your decision because the other guys are probably just going to give a puff piece or they're just going to crash it because they don't know how to fly. I just crashed it. So hopefully that answers all your questions. Guys, I'm assuming you're seeing this last in our series of Maiden flight or flights. Normally we do one or two. Sometimes we do one because we're lucky to get one opening. We're hoping to get one more so we can have a successful landing. Cross your fingers. That's what we're hoping to get you. If this is all you saw, our apologies. And as always, we plan to do second thoughts on all these planes. All these planes you see in the background, most of them have been done either in super high duress, like really quick. We've been busy with construction in the basement and getting ready to do construction out there. And we've had winter. So all those things have collided to this colossal mess of like, we haven't had time for a lot of second thoughts videos. They're coming, don't worry. They're gonna come, okay? Because we are committed to doing that here on Brian Phillips RC. So guys, if you're committed to staying with us, we're committed to continuing doing this. So we really appreciate you being here, being part of Brian Phillips RC. If you're one of our YouTube members or Patreon members, thanks for being monthly supporters for us. If you guys wanna be one, you can look into that. Also, super thanks are always much appreciated. Throw a couple of bucks our way if you think it would help take the edge off of some of the difficulties of these projects. And then fourthly, if you don't want to be part of like those different clubs or groups or have them own your information or whatever, that's fine. We understand. There's PayPal. You can do that too. We have links to all that on Brian Phillips RC. We have links down in the video description below. If you don't know how to get to Brian Phillips RC, you type in brianphillipsrc.com or you can type BP, Brian Phillips RC, radio control.me, whatever that stands for. And that's our short link to the same place. That'll take you where we have all the planes sorted by type or by brand affiliate, hobby shop, distributor, whoever we worked with, okay? Easy to find, there's lots of it. You can hardly use the playlist search on YouTube anymore because we just have so much content. So don't be surprised if you end up having to go to Brian Phillips RC to find what you're looking for. I have to sometimes now. It's getting so bad. We have so many videos, thousands of them, okay? They're here ready for you right now when you're ready to make a decision about a plane. We hope to be your first and last stop before you make a purchase decision. And then when you do, follow the links in the video description below. It's the best way you can support us financially. Is better than Patreon, it's better than PayPal, it's better than YouTube Super Thanks, it's better than YouTube membership. All those things are much appreciated. We really do firmly believe that you guys are wanting to do right by us and we appreciate that. But at the end of the day, we want to escalate and elevate this hobby. And the best way we know how is to get people into it, to bring people back to it, and also to help the distributors, manufacturers, hobby shops that are feeding our industry what we want. How do we do that? By telling the truth, the full truth, nothing but the truth. So help us God so that you can get out of the chair and into the air. Because here on Brian Phillips RC, we make it hard so you don't have to. Is that the mouthful?
Yeah.
So guys, thanks for being here. Thanks for enduring these long suffering videos. But at the end of the day, it could be you. So maybe we just saved you some time. Or maybe we're encouraging you into the black hole that is RC. We'll be here for you if you jump in with both feet. By the way, it's a black hole. You don't get back out. Just to be clear, you get obliterated into nothingness. So come on in. It's comfortable. All right, that's all we got for you. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned. So much more from Brian Phillips RC right around the corner. Don't forget to smash the like button on the way out if you haven't already. And also the bell for notifications when you click to subscribe. We'll be back.